Plato famously describes the healthy state of mind as possessing 4 virtues: wisdom, courage, temperance, and justice. Sometimes they are discussed together, as in the Republic, and they're also focused on individually in separate dialogues. The dialogue Charmides focuses on temperance. The Greek word is sophrosune. Sophrosune does not translate well, either into our language nor into our way of thinking. Depending on the translator, sophrosune might be rendered sound-mindedness, or sobriety or soberness, or moderation. The most common translation is perhaps temperance, and so that is the word I will use. But what is temperance? One common image is that of denying one's desires, putting reason over desire. You value your marriage, so you don't cheat. You value your health, so you don't indulge your sweet tooth. Another common image of temperance is keeping your cool in stressful situations. We often call this being stoical. This image is one of controlling our emotions, or even stifling them altogether. Now, statements can be found peppered throughout Plato's dialogues that, when taken out of context, seem to support these images. In the Republic, for example, Socrates uses the phrase master of himself when describing temperance. He explains that the intended meaning of this way of speaking appears to me to be that the soul of a man within him has a better part and a worse part, and the expression self-mastery means the control of the worse by the naturally better part. Yet, a more thorough reading of Plato shows us that these common images don't accurately capture what sophrosune is. To demonstrate sophrosune, Plato gave us the dialogue Charmides. It is written in first person from the perspective of Socrates, giving us readers a rare glimpse into his state of mind. Our title character makes his entrance like a movie star. All eyes are on the handsome young man. When I came to observe the boys, I noticed that none of them, not even the smallest, had eyes for anything else. But they all gazed at him as if he were a statue. Now, because of the first-person account, we see into the thoughts of Socrates, and so we know that he felt attraction to Charmides when sitting next to him. I saw inside his cloak and caught fire. Did this attraction compel him to deny his emotions, to push them down and suppress them? Did he talk himself out of his true feelings, putting reason over desire? No, because none of this is what sophrosune truly is. Then Chaerephon called me and said, "How does the youth strike you, Socrates? Has he not a fine face?" "Immensely so," I replied. "Yet if he would consent to strip," he said, "you would think he had no face. He has such perfect beauty of form." And these words of Chaerephon's were repeated by the rest. "Then, by Heracles," I said, "what an irresistible person you make him out to be. If he has but one more thing, a little thing besides." "What?" said Critias. "If in his soul," I replied, "he is of good grain. And I should think, Critias, he ought to be, since he is of your house." "Ah," he said, "he is right fair and good in that way also." "Why then," I said, "let us strip that very part of him and view it first, instead of his form. For anyhow, at that age, I am sure he is quite ready to have a discussion. Sophrosune in its fullest bloom is most accurately understood to be the state of mind of one whose desires naturally flow towards what is healthy for the soul. Rather than denying his attraction to Charmides, Socrates wants to test the condition of Charmides' soul. In other words, Socrates' desire was naturally elevated to a higher, more meaningful manifestation of beauty. Because Socrates was guided by wisdom, it was wisdom that determined what was most desirable to him. He did not want to be the young man's lover in the physical sense. He understood that was of no value. Instead, he wanted to find if Charmides had developed a beautiful condition of soul. Returning to the Republic for a moment, Socrates describes this state of mind in this way. When in a man the desires incline strongly to any one thing, they are weakened for other things. It is as if the stream had been diverted into another channel. So when a man's desires have been taught to flow in the channel of learning and all that sort of thing, they will be concerned, I presume, with the pleasures of the soul in itself, and will be indifferent to those of which the body is the instrument, if the man is a true and not a sham philosopher. Well, ever the true philosopher and teacher, Socrates spends the bulk of the dialogue Charmides challenging the young man to define this very thing, temperance. Does being temperate mean doing everything quietly and orderly? Is it modesty? How does it differ from justice, which is defined elsewhere as doing one's own business? Perhaps it is achieving the directive of the Delphic oracle, know thyself. Or is that wisdom? How does temperance differ? In Plato's classic fashion, he left the question open-ended. Yet, sneakily perhaps, he demonstrated the state of mind of temperance in the personage of Socrates, all while Charmides and the others in the dialogue failed to put a good definition into words. Socrates ends his discussion by telling Charmides, "Temperance I hold to be a great good, and you to be highly blessed, if you actually have it." Well, share your thoughts in the comments section. What are your thoughts on Charmides and about Plato's ideas about temperance? Let's have a discussion. And as always, I thank you for watching. Until next time.